Right, just going through a revision sheet for the first test for our Years 10 in 2021. And it's going to be mainly on straight line graphs, conversion graphs, and a little bit of algebra to finish off. So starting on question 1, we have a conversion graph here that we're going to look at. And the first question we got on it is that we're going to use the graph to change 10 meters into feet and 50 feet into meters. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit to just give myself a better look at this and get myself a line. So 10 meters into feet, so we're going to be starting off about here somewhere, and then we're going to draw another line here. So we can see that if we draw our line from here to here, we come out with 33 feet. So 10 meters is equal to 33 feet. Moving on to 50 feet into meters, so let's do the same again, and drawing a line down we get something that's close to 16 meters. Okay, Josh lives 820 meters above sea level, and Nikki lives 2,850 feet above sea level, which is greater, 820 meters or 200,850 feet. Let's just zoom out there, give us some more space. So what we've got here is we know that 10 meters is 33 feet, so therefore 820 meters will equal 82 if we divide this by 10 and then times this by 33 will give us the feet, and that comes out to be 2,706 feet. So it's quite clear that 2,850 feet is greater. This graph can be used to find costs in US dollars of cleaning carpet with an area of up to 50 meters squared. The carpet has an area of 41. Use the graph to find the cleaning of this carpet. So 41 is about here. So let's draw up this line to here, and then we can go across at this point and find our answer here. Now this is a little bit tricky because you've got, there's 50, and that's 10 squares per every 50. So 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. That if 10 squares per every 50, that means each square is worth 5. So 4 squares would give us 20. Above 100 gives us $120. Cost of cleaning another carpet is $65. Use a graph to find the area of this carpet. So there's 55, 60, $65. Go across, draw down, and we can see that the area of this is going to be, that's 20, 21, 22, 23 square meters. A rectangular carpet has a length of 6.8 and a width of 5. Find the cost, so we need to find the area. So we get 5 times 8 is 40, put the 4 across. 5 times 6 is 30, add on the 4 gives us 34. So that's 34 square meters. So we go on to here, look up 34. So there's 32, 33, 34, go up at the 34, come across, find an answer, and we can see it's just 5 below 100, so it's going to be $95 to the nearest $5. Right, moving on. On this graph, we're going to draw a graph of y equals 4x minus 1, from x is minus 2 to x equals 4. Now, the easiest way is just to pick a couple of points and draw them. So if we do x, and the easiest one is x equals 0, because that's everywhere on the y-axis. So if x equals 0 is everywhere on the y-axis, we know that y equals minus 1 from there. If we do x equals 1, we can put 4 times 1 minus 1, so we get y is equal to 3. 4 times 1 is 4, minus 1 gives me 3. We could do another value if you really want to, just to make sure. If you do 3 values, you're giving yourself a check, because if they're not in a straight line, you've made a mistake. So 2 times 4 is 8, minus 1 is 7. So we can see it's going up by 4 every time, because the gradient is 4. So what we can do, we can plot these values. So we've got 0, minus 1. So if that's 5, minus 1 is going to be there. We have got 1, 3. So that's going to be 2, 4, There we go. It's going to be just there. And then we've got 2, 7. So we need to go 2 from here, go up another 2, and then another 2 to there. And then we can just keep going on. So therefore 3 will be 4 more, so we'll get to 11. 4, we can go 4 more than 11, so we get to 15. And then if we go to -1, we go 4 down, that'll be 5. And we should be able to go -2, go 4 more down, that will give us 9. And then we can draw a line for all of these points. There we go. And we have our equation of our line here. So this is the line y equals 4x minus 1. Moving on to this question, we'll do the same again. We'll put some x values and we'll find some y values out. So let's put some x values in. We're going from -2 to 4. So let's just write them out like a table. And we can find the y values. The 0 one's always easy. So put 0 in, we get 6 out. I've missed out, so I put 1 and 2 the wrong way around. So put 1 in. So we get 2 times 1 is 2. Take away from 6 will give me 4. Put 2 in. 2 times 2 is 4. Take away from 6 is 2. And we can see it's changing by 2 every time. So we can put the rest in really quickly. Because the gradient is the same. And if the gradient is the same, okay, because we've got a straight line, we must have it going up by the same amount each time. So if we start at -2 at 10, and we can go all the way to 4 is going to be at -2. And what we can do, and does it ask us to draw it to 5? No, just from 2 to -4, so we can just draw the line from 2 to -4. There we go. So we have our line y equals y plus 2x, y plus 2x equals 6. L is shown on the grid, and we want to find the equation for L. Well, we know crosses. Remember, all lines have the equation y equals mx plus c. This is the gradient, and this is where it crosses y. So we found c, it's -2, straight off. M is the gradient. So pick 2 points. We're going to pick this point, and we're going to pick this point. How far do we go along, and how far do we go up? Well, we go, the change in x is 1. The change in y here is 3. The gradient is equal to the change in y over the change in x, which is equal to 3 over 1, which equals 3. So we know that m equals 3, and we know c equals -2. So y equals 3x minus 2. Okay, let's find the equation for this one. Well, we can see it crosses at 1, so let's work out the gradient. And we can choose any point we like. We may as well start here at 1, and we can see it goes through this point here. So we see our change in x here is 1, and our change in y is -2 going down. From here to here, it goes down, so it's -2. So our gradient equals our change in y over change in x. So we've got -2 over 1, which equals -2. And we know our intercept is equal to 1. So therefore, y equals -2x plus 1. Don't get confused with what a lot of people think the gradient is -2x. It's just the -2, just this number. Look, there's no x's in there. It's just a number. Okay, when we come on to other questions. Okay, we've got the points 1, 1, and 4, 7 on the straight line. Find the equation for the line L. So we are going to plot 1 minus 1. So 1 minus 1 is just here. There's 1, there's -1. And 4, 7. So 4's over here and 7's over here. So it's going up here. So we've got our line going from here to here. In there. Okay, and then we can see that our change in x goes from here to here, which is 1 from 1 to 4, which is 3. And our change in our y values goes from -1 to 7, which is 8. So going from there to there is 3, from there to there is 8. So our gradient equals our change in y over our change in x, which equals 8 over 3. We also want to know where it crosses the y-axis. So what we're going to do is we know the gradient is 8 over 3. We know that means if we go 1 along, we're going to go going backwards, we're going to go 8 over 3 down. If we continue, this distance is going to be 8 over 3. 8 over 3, if you don't like that, is 2 1/3. 3 goes into 8 twice, we remained at 2 2/3, remainder 2. So this is going to be 2 2/3 down, so this is going to be minus 3 2/3. Now I like to write as a single fraction. That is equal to 3 times 3 is 9. That's going to be minus 11 over 3. So my equation, there's my gradient here, 8 over 3. So y equals m, 8 over 3, times by x, plus where it crosses the y-axis, minus 11 over 3. But we've got to write it in this form where a, b, and c are integers. Integers means whole numbers. So we've got to get rid of the 3. So we times everything by 3. We get 3y equals 8x minus 11. And we've got to get the 8x to the other side. So we finish off with 3y minus 8x equals minus 11 to get it in the format that they want, where a, b, and c are all integers. Okay? Integers means whole numbers that can be positive or negative. So we want to find an equation for this line. So we know it crosses the y-axis at minus 1. So c equals minus 1 in y equals mx plus c. We know c equals minus 1. The gradient, we go along 2 and we go up 1. So the gradient equals the change in y over the change in x. Our change in y is 1 over our change in x, which is 2. So it's a half. So y will equal a half x minus 1. Part 2, we want to find equations parallel to L and passes through the point 5, 4. So we know that we got y equals a half x plus something. But it goes through the point 5, 4, so we need to find the something that works with that. So put in the point 5, 4, so we've got 4 equals a half times 5 plus the something we're looking for. So that's 2.5. Take away 2.5. We get 1.5 is equal to our something. So therefore y will equal a half x plus 1.5. Right, moving on. We've got a straight line passes through the points 4, minus 1 and 6, 4. The straight line is perpendicular to L and intersects the y-axis at the point 0, 8. Find the coordinates of the point where M intersects the x-axis. So, let's first of all, we need to find out the gradient of our line M so we can find its equation. And we have to find the gradient of L. So the gradient of L is equal to, the change in x is going to be 2 and the change in y is going to be 5. So it's equal to 5 over 2. Now remember, to find the gradient of the perpendicular, we divide minus 1 by this answer. You can do this on your calculator. Minus 1 divided by 5 over 2 is the same as minus 1 times 2/5, which gives me minus 2/5. You could do that on your calculator. We know it crosses the y-axis at the point 0, 8. So therefore, if it's got gradient minus 2/5 and it crosses the y-axis at 0, 8, the equation of M is going to be y equals minus 2/5 x plus 8. And we want to find out where it crosses the x-axis. Now, all the way along the x-axis, y is equal to 0. So therefore, we're going to let y equals 0. Let's get some more space for our working. Let y equals 0. So 0 equals minus 2/5 x plus 8. I'm just going to finish the working over here. So if we take the minus 2/5 x to this side, we get 2/5 of x will equal 8. We're going to divide by 2/5, which is the same as timesing. You could do that on your calculator, but it's the same as timesing by 5 over 2. 2 goes into 8 4 times. Times 5 gives me 20. So it will cross at the point 20, 0. Okay, question 10. L passes the point 3, 1 is parallel to this line with 7 over 2 minus 2x. So to find out the gradient of our line L, we need to find the gradient of this line, and it's how many lots of x, which is minus 2. So the gradient will equal minus 2. So we know we've got minus 2x plus something. We don't know. We don't know what this something is. But we do know that it goes through the point 3, 1. So put the point 3, 1 in. So we go 1 equals minus 2 times 3 equals my something that I don't know. So minus 2 times 3 is minus 6. Add that to both sides, we get 7 will equal my something. So the equation for my line is going to be y equals minus 2x plus 7. Equation, the straight line has equation 3x minus 2y equals 15. Now we want to find the gradient, but remember we only know the gradient from the equation if we have it written like this, y equals mx plus c. So we need the y on its own. Now to get the y on its own, I like to get it positive, so I'm going to add it to this side. So I get 3x equals 15 plus 2y. Take away the 15. I get 3x minus 15 equals 2y. Divide everything by 2. Divide this by 2, I get 3 over 2x. Divide this 2, I get 15 over 2, or you might like to write 7.5 equals y. And now we've got our gradient. So our gradient is equal to 3 over 2. Find the coordinates where L crosses the y-axis. Well, we've done that. It's minus 15 over 2. That's nice and easy because I've already done that. So it's going to be at the point 0, and you could put minus 7.5 or you could put minus 15 over 2. It doesn't matter. Find the equation line that's parallel to L and crosses the x-axis at minus 2, 0. So we know that if it's parallel to this, then the ratio of the x and y's must be the same. So we must have 3x minus 2y equals something. We don't know what the something is. These are in ratio, so it's parallel. So we need to find our something out. So let's put in minus 2, 0. So x is minus 2, so we get 3 times minus 2. Minus 2 times 0 equals my something. So 3 times minus 2 is minus 6. Minus 2 times 0 is 0. So I get an answer of minus 6 for my something, where I'm going to cross the y-axis. So therefore my equation is going to be exactly the same as before. 3x minus 2y, because it has the same gradient. But it's going to cross here. It's not going to cross here. This is my something that I found for this equation. That is actually not where it crosses. It's just the number that goes there that makes everything work. Actually, it's going to cross at minus 3 once you divide it. No, it's going to cross at plus 3 once we worked out where, rearranged this and worked it out. Okay. The point A has coordinates 2, 0, 2. The coordinate B has minus 4, 1. We want to find the midpoint. Now the midpoint is the average of the x values and the average of the y values. Okay. So what we want to do is find the average of the x values and then find the average of the y values. So the midpoints will equal 0 plus minus 4 over 2. And it will equal 2 plus minus 1 over 2 for the y values. That's going to give me minus 4 divided by 2, which is minus 2. That's going to give me 1 divided by 2, which is just a half. Okay, 2 plus minus 1 is 1, divided by 2 is a half. Work out the gradient of the line AB. So, going from here to here, we can see the x value goes down by minus 4. We can see the y value goes down by minus 3. The gradient is the change in y divided by the change in x. So it's minus 3 over minus 4. Cancel out the negatives, you're just left with 3/4 or 0.75. It really doesn't matter which one you use. Find the equation of the line AB. Well, we found its gradient, and we're told in the question where it crosses the y-axis. So this is nice and easy. So it's just going to be y equals 3/4 x. Because that's x value is 0, it crosses the y value at 2. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB. Now this is a bit trickier. So we've got the point 0, 2 and minus 4, minus 1. So let's just draw a little sketch to help us with this. So we have the point 0, 2. And we have the point, what was it? Minus 4, minus 1. So minus 4, minus 1's down here. Now, perpendicular bisector means it cuts it in half at right angles. So here's our line. So our perpendicular bisector will be going this way. Now, we know the point it goes through because we know the midpoint. So this is the midpoint. Is equal to, what was it? It was minus 2.5. Now we know the gradient of our red line was equal to 3/4. To find the gradient of the blue line, remember we do minus 1 divided by 3/4. Now that's the same as times it by 4/3, so we just get a gradient equal to minus 4/3. Now we want to find out where this blue line is going to cross the y-axis. It's going to be down here somewhere. So we know that y equals minus 4/3x plus something, and we want to find out our something. Okay, where it crosses the axes. Now we know it goes through the point 2.5, minus 2.5. So put that in. So put a half in here. Put a minus 2 in here. So you get minus 4/3 times minus 2. And that will be equal to our something here. Minus 2 times minus 4/3 is going to be 8/3. So we've got a half minus 8/3 must be equal to my something. So these all go, I'm going to just do the fractions. So it's always good to practice our fractions when you get a chance. So I'm going to times that by 3 to get 3 there. I'm going to times that by 2 to get 2 there, 16. And it's all over 6. So that's going to give me minus 15/6, which cancels down because 3 goes into 15 5 times, 3 goes into 6 2 times. It's minus 2.5. So we have our gradient, and we have where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, we worked out what the thing is we didn't know. So therefore, y will equal minus 4/3 x minus 5/2, or 2.5. Doesn't really matter which way you do this. Right, in this question, we have equation of 4 straight lines. 2 of them are parallel. Which 2 lines? So we need the y and x's to be in ratio. Now the easiest way we know that these two are not parallel. Okay, so we know those two aren't parallel because y equals 2x, y equals minus 2x isn't correct. Now if we divide both sides of this one by 2, that tells me that y equals 3 minus 3/2x. So none of these three are parallel. So I'm going to need to use the fourth line to help me. So the fourth line, I get, I'm going to make the minus 2y come on this side because I like pluses. So I'm going to give me 3 plus 2y. Take away 3, I get 4x minus 3 equals 2y. Divide by 2, I get 2x minus 3/2 equals y. And what you can see is the gradient of this one, sorry, rubber, because it's not the x. The only thing that's part of the gradient is the 2. The 2 is the gradient and the 2 is the gradient. So therefore, A and C are my parallel lines because they have the same gradient. Line L has a gradient of minus 5/2 and passes through the point with coordinates 1, 3. Find the equation of line L. So we know it's got that gradient, so we know it equals y equals minus 5/2x plus something. And we want to find the something. Okay? We want to find this. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the 1, 3 in again. 3 is y, 1 is x, that gives me minus 5 over 2 plus something. This is minus 2.5. So therefore, take it away from 3, add it to 3, because you're going to take it to the other side, add it. This is the same as 6 halves plus 5 halves gives me 11 halves for my thing that I don't know. Okay, or 5.5. If you use your calculator, you'll get 5.5. So we now know that y will equal minus 5 over 2x plus 11 over 2. And again, it says it wants them all as integers, which means it must be whole. So we need to times by 2. We get 2y equals minus 5x plus 11. 2 times that by 2, you get 2y. Times that by 2, you get minus 5x. Times that by 2, you get 11. And we want the x on the same side as the y, so I'm going to add 5x to both sides to get 2y plus 5x equals 11. Question 14. Point A has coordinates 5, 8, and point B has coordinates 9, minus 4. Work out the gradient of AB. So let's do it this way. Change in y over change in x is what we're looking for. So there's my change in x, which is 4, going up by 4. There's my change in y, which goes down by minus 12. And go down by 8, then down by another 4. That's down by 12. So therefore, the gradient will equal the change in y, which is minus 12, divided by x, which is 4. Minus 12 divided by 4 is equal to minus 3. Straight line L has equation this. Write down the gradient of straight line perpendicular to L. So if the gradient equals minus 4, then the perpendicular gradient will equal minus 1 divided by minus 4, which gives me 1/4. Minus 1 divided by minus 4 is 1/4, or 0.25 if you're doing that on your calculator. Question 15. Write down the equation of a line that's parallel with this. So therefore, it must have this many lots of x, minus 4 lots of x. So we can write down anything we like, so long as we've got minus 4 lots of x plus something. I'm going to write 3. You could write 4, 5, minus 2, minus a billion. It doesn't really matter what you write here, it will still be right. The line L passes through these points. Find the equation of a line that passes through the points with, that is perpendicular to L and passes through these points. So we're going to find the gradient of L. L gradient. So the change in x is 5, the change in y is minus 3, so the gradient is minus 3 over 5. So if we want the perpendicular, gradient, we're going to do minus 1 divided by minus 3 over 5, which just gives me 5/3, or 1.6 recurring. Better you write it as a fraction, actually, in this case. Try and use your fractions on your calculator. It will give you your answer as a fraction, which is nicer to deal with. So we know that we've got y equals 5/3 x plus something. I'm going to use a k for my something this time, on a question mark. Okay, so plus some number k. So I'm going to put in my value minus 6 and 4. So put in the 4, put in the minus 6 here. And I'm looking for my k. Minus 6 times 5 over 3. 3 goes to 6 twice. 2 times 5 is 10, so that's minus 10. Add it onto the 4 will give me 14 for my k value. I'm not going to spend too much time on doing this sort of algebra. You should be able to do that if you're doing straight line graphs. So we know that it crosses at 14. So we know we have y equals 5/3 x plus 14. We need integers. 5/3 is not an integer because it's a fraction, so times by 3, we get 3y equals 5x plus 14, but it wants everything on the same side. So we write 3y minus 5x minus 14 will equal 0. I just made a mistake there because I forgot to times throughout the 14 by 3. Just checked my answer and realised there's a little mistake here. So 14 times 3, 30, that's 42, and therefore 42 here. Okay, we want to complete the table for x squared minus 5x plus 6. You can use the table function on your calculator, or you can just learn how to do the values. 1 squared is 1, minus 5 times 1, that's going to give me minus 4, plus 6 is 2. And if you know anything about quadratics, you know they're symmetrical, and we can see this one matches up with this one matches this one. I bet this one comes out as 6. So I get 25 for 5 squared minus 5 times 5, which cancels that out and just leaves me the 6 on the end. So I've got these points, and I now have to plot these points. So I've got the point 0, 6, so I plot that. I've got the point 1, 2, so I plot that. I've got the point 2, 0, so I plot that. 3, 0, 4, 2, and 5, 6. Now this is not a straight line, so it's a curve. And you have to try and draw as smooth as curve as you like. I'm going to try and do this on this screen, which is not easy to do. And you should try and draw as smooth a curve as you can that goes through the points. Make sure it goes through each point. That's not a bad, you'd get full marks for one as good as that. But you definitely don't want it wiggling around, and you definitely don't want straight lines between the points because it's a quadratic graph. Now, we want to draw a suitable straight line for this question. I'm not going to do this question because at this level, okay, this is a bit tricky. So I'm going to change it, okay. We're going to find, at this level, you should only be able to do this in beginning of year 10. You shouldn't be doing that, which requires rearrangements. We're going to solve this one. We're going to solve this equation. I've got x squared minus 5x plus 6. Which is this curve, and I want to solve where it equals x plus 2. So I can draw my line y equals x plus 2. So it's going to go through the origin at 2, and it's going to have gradient of 1. So go 1 along, 1 up, 1 along, 1 up. 3 will go through 5, 4 will go through 6, and 5 will go through 7, and eventually this is going to cross again here. Unfortunately, on my graph, it's not quite work. Draw a line through there, and here is your two answers. So from this, these are only rough. You'd use a ruler and get slightly better answers. So we can see that we're going to be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So that's going to be 0.7. And here we're going to be about here. So we're going to be about 5.2. So we're going to have x equals 0.7 or 5.2 for the answers to this. So basically we're looking for x values where these two lines cross. Okay, and that's how you do it. Okay, let's expand and simplify these. Multiply out that bracket. So we get 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times 1 is 5. Minus 3 times 3x is minus 9x. Minus 3 times 1, minus 1, be careful here, it's plus 3. Take these away, we get x. Add these together, we get 8. Multiply out these brackets. I suggest you use a thing called FOIL. First two things, outer two things, inner two things, last two things. So the first two things, y and y, is y squared. The outer two things is y and minus 7, gives me minus 7y. The inner two things gives me 5y. The last two things, 5 times minus 7 gives me minus 35. And then we can combine the y's to get y squared minus 2y minus 35. Okay, I'm going to simplify this fully. So I've got to square both the brackets. Now do remember that squaring something means this. So I'm going to square that. And I'm also going to work out this one squared, which is x minus 3 2x minus 3 all squared. So this one will give me FOIL. First two things, 4x squared. Outer two things, 6x. Inner two things is also 6x. Last two things is 9. Do FOIL again. First two things, 4x squared. Outer two things, minus 6x. Inner two things, minus 6x. Last two things, minus 3 times minus 3 is another 9. And I want to do the top one minus the bottom one. So if I take this away from this, that will cancel. Take this away from this, I get 12x. Take this away from this, I get another 12x. Take this away from this, they'll cancel. So my answer is 24x. Because if I do 6x minus 6x, I get 12x. 6x minus 6x, I get 12x. Okay, moving on. Let's just do this little bit of solving. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times minus x is minus 5x equals 7 minus 3x. Now I'm going to add 5x to both sides. Always try and get the x's to be positive. This is bigger than this and negative, so we're going to add it. So we get plus 2x. Take the 7 away, I get 13 equals 2x. So therefore 13 over 2 is my value of x. You can write that as 6.5, or you can write it as 13 over 2. It's okay to do both. Right, we're going to factorise these things. So we need to look for the highest common factor. So what goes into both 16 and 24? The biggest number goes into both of those is 8. What's the biggest thing that goes to m cubed and m squared? Well, that's m squared. What's the biggest thing that goes into g cubed and g to the 5? Well, that's just g cubed. So what do I need to times this by to get the first value? Well, I need to times by 2 to get to 16. I need to times the m squared by m to get m cubed. And I don't need to times the g cubed by anything. So I don't need anything else. What I need to times by to get this, I need to times the 8 by 3. And the m squared, I don't need to times by anything to get this, but I do need to times the g cubed by g squared to get this. And that is my answer. I've taken out the highest common factor. You can see, check there's no more common factors. No common factors between 2 and 3, and m and g squared. Factorise fully. So double bracket 1 because we've got a trinomial quadratic. 3 terms, trinomial. Okay, so what times to give us y squared? Well, we know y and y. Think what times together to give me minus 48, but combines to give me minus 2. So start off thinking about numbers that could be 2 apart that times to give me 48. So you could have 4 and 12, which is not 2 apart. So that didn't work. So how about we try 8 and 6? They're 2 apart, and they times to give me 48. So I've got 8 and 6, and I want minus 2. So minus 8 plus 6 is going to be my two numbers that go in here. So hence I want to solve this. So that means if I'm going to solve this, this must be equal to 0. And if this equals 0, you've got one number, y minus 8, times by another number, y plus 6, equals 0. So either y minus 8 must equal 0, in which case y will equal 8, or y plus 6 must equal 0, in which case y equals minus 6. So we've got y equals 8 or minus 6 as my answers. Okay, let's run through that again. Something times something must be 0, one of them must be 0. That's all that can happen. And then you just care about doing the rest of the question. Okay, another factorisation. So the highest common factor for both of these, start off. We don't have a trinomial, so it's not a double bracket. Start off by looking at the highest common factor. 3 goes into both of these, and y goes into both of these. So take the 3y out. What do I times 3y to get 6y squared? I times it by 2y. What do I times 15y to get 3y by to get 15y? I only have to times it by 5. There's my answer. I'm going to expand this, so let's do a bit of FOIL. M times m, m squared. Outer two things minus 5m. Inner two things 9m. Last two things minus 45. Combine these two together, I get m squared plus 4m minus 45. And that is my final answer. Factorising these two, g goes into both, take out g, that leaves me g there, that leaves me just 4 there. Check they multiply out to give me the right answer. Factorising this, I know I'm going to have e and e. What ties together to give me 24 and subtracts to give me minus 2, minus 6 and plus 4, my numbers. Minus 6 times 4 gives me minus 24. Add them together, I get the minus 2. Okay, our last question is to factorise this. and we got a number at the front, which makes things a little trickier. Still want numbers that multiply to give me 3. So how I'm going to combine them to get 7 minus 7t? Well, to be a negative, they've got to be both negative. And to get 3 and 1 to get me 7, I need to times the 3 by 2. So I'm going to put the minus 3 over here because I'll be timesing that by the 2t to get minus 6t. Put the minus 1 here because I'll be timesing that by the t to get minus 1t. Combine them together, that gives me minus 7t.